It's the clash of the Mercedes luxury sedans. Mercedes E-Class and Mercedes S-Class are going head to head. Which one is better for you? Which one is better for which use case? We're going to compare exterior, interior, and of course the driving on the German Autobahn with a lot of speed and also with a lot of cylinders here, each under the hood. Very nice engine choices as well. And I'm looking forward myself to the conclusion. And you know that we are searching a private vehicle, a new one at this moment as well. And might E-Class or S-Class be something for us as well? We're going to find out everything about that with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go, starting with the E-Class. We do not have the standing star on top of the hood here. There would be one available, at least for example in Germany and some other European markets. It's not available on the Northern American market. However, because there they say, the E-Class customer always wants it like this. Really saw with the EQS that the standing star here on top of the hood. Also a little bit flexible for passenger safety. Actually, huge sensor pad here in the front as well. Yeah, and you can see that the S-Class looks a little bit more present with that front grille. Both vehicles as a sedan here today. The E-Class will also be available as the German lesson, listen and repeat, T-Modell. Listen and repeat, T-Modell. That's the German word for the T model, the estate or tourer, wagon and so on. So that would be like the family style model. The S-Class, of course, only available as a sedan. S-Class Estate would look funny, right? And then here, the E-Class length is 4.95 meters or 195 inches, whereas the S-Class we have in long wheelbase version, which is the standard one on the Northern American market and also on some other markets, which is 34 centimeters or 13 inches longer. 25 centimeters or 10 inches of that is the longer wheelbase. I feel the S-Class looks a little bit more luxurious here with this light design, but that's of course also matter of preference. And of course you can see already the length difference right here, where the E-Class ends here and the S-Class is right there. Again, it wouldn't be that large the difference when you go for the short wheelbase Mercedes S-Class. But since this one is the most sold one and the short wheelbase is not available in all markets, we also concentrate on this one here today. Technological difference is that the air suspension is standard for the S-Class, whereas it's an option for the E-Class. E-Class could also be available with a standard suspension. And the rear axis steering is 4.5 degrees. It's an option for the E-Class here as well. But here at the S-Class, you can also optionally go for a 10 degrees rear axis steering, which is extremely impressive and kind of fakes a shorter wheelbase, making this car, although it's longer, almost as agile in the maneuverability and turning circle and so on. So that's a pretty cool thing. Now my favorite shot here, the dual hood shot, not a head shot, but the hood shot here. And there we go with the 3-liter six-cylinder, inline six-cylinder here on both engines. The E450 on this side here, 380 horsepower, 4.5 seconds in the acceleration, and the S500, 4.7 seconds, so slightly slower, but 450 horsepower, so more horsepower for the S500 here. Then the cockpit of the E-Class, you can get a passenger screen for this one. You can only see it really when you directly look at it. There's a safety feature that I cannot see it that well from my view or from the side and so on. But the base E-Class would have a decor element there. And honestly, I think that looks better than taking the passenger screen. At this moment, the availability of the passenger screen is still something that differentiates E-Class and S-Class. If you look this video here at a later stage, we expect with the S-Class facelift that it will also get the passenger screen to even out that gap. But honestly, most customers, especially from Europe or from Northern America, they don't find the passenger screen that important. Or what do you think? But the cockpit itself, yes, there are a lot of screens. Still, it's not that hard to control it. Of course, I'm a fan of physical buttons. You don't have that here, but you do have the climate area here, at least in the lower part. So you can either do it like this, you can also click in there, you can click plus minus, so that's all possible. Voice would also be possible. And here, have you seen that here from the ambient lighting? So it has this animation then that it runs through, like if you go warmer or colder, looks quite cool. Even cooler, of course, this ambient lighting at night. We took some shots for you in the basement garage to have the full glory of the ambient lighting I think that's really cool. Some say it's too much. Rear seats E-Class, wrapped tightly, everything in the inside of the doors. Also fabric in the lower part, that's beautifully done. Maybe a little bit too much high gloss black here. That's maybe the only downside. And then, said here's the AMG line interior as well. So rear we have like a tablet holder and some cup holders here. Isofix in the outside. And the seating comfort here is, I would say, it's quite okay. Yeah, and then here, headroom 189, 602, that fits. And legroom also directly fits because the recess is planned out very well. It's not that there's abundance of space, and I would suppose that here we also begin to see more differences of E-Class and S-Class. We are seating in the S-Class, here the long wheelbase version, which is the standard one on the Northern American market and also on a lot of other markets. Here with a long door and the controls on the inside here and the seat, you know, this kind of like pictogram style, but then it does not move anymore in this generation. Nice integration of the sound system with the speakers here, and also here everything covered from the inside of the doors and so on. There's even felt at the inside. You can feel it here. You cannot really see it on camera. Now two step. First of all, how much space behind the driver's seat. And there you can see in this long wheelbase version, this is the main difference. In the E-Class, not much space. In the short wheelbase version, however, that means that there's not that much difference between E-Class and S-Class, because here you have that, you know, even longer long wheelbase. And that is the main difference then, you know, when you want more legroom in the rear. Because yeah, when you're traveling with a lot of tall Ls in the rear, the E-Class does get its limits, definitely. Headroom here, 189, 602, is also fine. And yeah, of course, the seating is in general a little bit more plush in the S-Class here if you compare it to the E-Class. And we have electric controls here of the seats. The chauffeur position, there we go. And then we can press this magic button, which is this folding flat button. There we go. And let's see how far it does go. Meanwhile, I can already take off my shoes. So there we go. It takes a while, of course, always. It's interesting also how the top head restraint then goes down. And we're also waiting then for the calf rest and the footrest and so on. Yeah, and this is then the main difference. You cannot do that with the E-Class, but you can do it with the S-Class. Maybe like the Chinese market has a long wheelbase E-Class. That's maybe getting closest to it or something like that. Then here also this seat goes forward. Individual steps. It's a very plush calf rest here as well. There we go. But you already see right here that considering the length of the vehicle, it's not super long. You know, always here this rest part here. I mean, for my size, I wouldn't say it exactly fits. It's maybe like this kind of bit of too short. Welcome to the interior in the front here, cockpit of the S-Class with this more vertical layout. When there is a next facelift of the S-Class, we expect it also to get the passenger screen. Yeah, but I think it's not really needed. I think it's more beautiful that way. And remember, the E-Class is also available without passenger screen and does have the deco element there. So I'm really team no passenger screen, definitely. Beautiful design element here. You can, of course, pick different designs. Glove box here falls down very smoothly like that. And this vertical design has here a lot of high gloss black. That's maybe not the best one. Here also the manufacture. There's like the special interior here, for example, also with the white and so on. The interior logic here is pretty much the same. Yeah. Switching it on here, that you have the climate unit here. You also have a nice visualization here, if you like, in the ambient lighting. But of course, you can also switch it off. And the ambient lighting, I've set it here to the light blue, that it fits the exterior color, of course, of this baby blue color. That's actually pretty cool. Then here in the middle part, a split armrest as well. Opening it, two more USB-C chargers, inductive charging pad. There are two now here actually, because in the front you can slide this one open, have another one right there. Two USB-C chargers there. Cup holders are here better because you have this classic 4-dot design. So the bolts are kept tighter here in the S-Class than in the E-Class. That's the main argument to go for the vehicle, right? Yeah, and then the steering wheel material is a little bit more plush, I would say, softer, and nice shifting pedals. These are actually the same. And I always love this shot here in the comparison when I can open the trunk lids simultaneously. There we go. And on paper, they are kind of similar from the leader figures, but there are some notable differences. And here, starting with the E-Class 540 liters, is only 10 liters less than with the S-Class. But what about the measurements? Here, there's a meter of 40 inches in width, and maybe it's a little bit closer here, a little bit wider in the front. And then the length here, this will probably be a difference. And here we are at 46 inches or 1 meters 17, and the height here is about 20 inches or 50 centimeters. Yeah, here this is something that I criticize, that we have this plastic element here in front of the seats. Maybe not the best, honestly. Here, the remote unlock of the seats, and that's a pretty cool thing. And here, they really fold directly without you doing anything more. So that's a very practical, handy thing. I love that. And then the total length, you see that the whole ruler fits in, is about 2 meters or 79 inches. And the S-Class, the difference is here, the width. You actually get a problem because it's less than a meter or 40 inches deep in there. However, it's higher. That is interesting. And that's why it's also 10 liters more officially. Because here, this is where the E-Class would end, and this one goes more like 23 inches or like 58 centimeters, so a little bit higher here. Underneath, some more space, it also accounts for that. And the actual normal length is not that different between E-Class and S-Class. Here we are at about 1 meters 18 or 46 inches. And the main difference is here we just can load through the ski hatch, but we cannot fully fold the seats. Sport mode. Woo!
Woo!
That was nice. Welcome to the Mercedes E-Class in the E450. 50 kilometers an hour to 160 kilometers an hour, and that even got the Lear meter going a little bit. Yeah, of course, we love that 3-liter 6-cylinder in the 450 here. 381 horsepower plus a little bit electric boost. 4.5 seconds. In the S-Class it will be 4.7, so a little bit slower, but picked the similar engines here for you today. Whew. Now I feel rejuvenated.
I need seat cooling.
yeah, let's put the seat cooling a little bit higher for that. At least we have that here. Yeah, pretty cool. I mean, I love this engine. Of course, the best engine you can buy for this vehicle. It's just very lively. However, you might have picked up on camera as well, when I was accelerating. At first, the car, I have the feeling that it wasn't quite sure which gear to select, you know? So like this kickdown, and it was doing another kickdown, something like that, let's say wasn't...
It feels nice.
Yeah.
The kickdown was nice.
Yeah, that one was really, really nice. So maybe it wasn't ideal at first, but that was pretty cool. It's also in sport mode. I selected here in the lower part. It's a little bit low and a little bit small to choose from. In the comfort mode, then the air suspension is also a little bit softer. That feels pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, having the air suspension in general. We recently drove again the BMW 5 Series, where we were, in a way, complaining about that missing, because the A6 offers air suspension, the E-Class offers air suspension, and the BMW 5 Series does not offer that. So suspension-wise, this is really, really good. It's not tuned on a super soft note, but you feel that when you have some waves, it's even out very well, but smooth at the same time. Sometimes Lear has a problem when the air suspension is too soft.
Yeah, I think Mercedes suspension is the best.
Oh,
really,
Lear likes the Mercedes suspension. Yeah. So here, although I'm in the comfort mode, still okay? Yeah, it was okay, because
not too soft.
Because when I'm in the sport mode, then we have it a little bit stiffer, maybe like for an alpine pass, going left and right, back and forth again. Yeah, but here, I mean, it's still comfortable, but just let me do another lane change here in sport mode. Yeah, you have more feedback definitely from the road, but it works in both cases. I really like the steering input meanwhile with Mercedes, so you don't have a dead zone area, you don't have to steer that much. That's a pretty cool setup. We have here in this one here, E-Class, 20-inch wheels mounted here, and still does a good job. Of course, if you would take smaller wheels, you could have even more comfort. And very important here on the German Autobahn, the motorway, I mean, this is here at the moment 130 kilometers an hour, like 75 miles an hour, and you hear absolutely nothing from the outside. Dual insulation front and rear windows, it's so silent. It's so silent, and that's really great.
In the city, it's crazy.
Yeah, in the
Crazy
city,
silent.
it's crazy
so,
silent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just this flawless driving experience. And one thing that has always been special about the E-Class is it always feels like driving the E-Class. And you might think like, that's a totally obvious thing, but it's not so obvious, because even when you were driving, and even today, like in one of the like predecessors, like a W123, you start driving, you think, oh yeah, that's an E-Class. Sport mode. Woo! So it was again 50 to 170 kilometers an hour with the Mercedes S-Class. Yeah, it feels heavier indeed. I mean, just a couple of meters here on the German Autobahn and you immediately feel differences. So we were starting with the E-Class and then saying like, it rides so extremely well. How could the S-Class be better? And let's start with that. What's maybe better and what's maybe even worse. So what we both immediately realized, so here now cruising at about like 110, 100 kilometers an hour, 60, 70 miles an hour, it's so extremely silent.
But here it gets lower.
Yeah, I mean, here we have the panoramic roof.
Yeah.
So we have this one here with panoramic roof, the other one, the E-Class without. So, not like 100% comparable, but I think like the surrounding here, this is more silent. With panoramic roof, that's of course a thing you always have to consider when getting one. But the base setup here, like from around you, you almost feel like there's nothing, So yeah, you've seen like also put the ambient lighting to the exterior color, like the light blue, really beautiful. You feel the longer wheelbase. It's more settled on the ground. It rather steers like a boat, like a ship in comparison to the E-Class. We sit a little bit higher, at least we feel that, and the air suspension is ruling maybe slightly more softer, so it has an even enhanced feeling of flying on the road, even in the sport mode here, and more so of course in the comfort mode. Then you really have this more floating effect here, and in a way it gives you more calmness. Then I said that here the seat in this upper area is a little bit more comfortable in that case. Then we have you can get like this plush cushion here, for example. At the same time, I have to say that the E-Class always sets the bar very, very high. And then, of course, you have to say, does it really make sense to pay the extra price for that? But still, you do feel these notable differences. As I said, more settled, maybe a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more silent, at least at lower speeds. When we are going a little bit quicker, then I would say, yeah, in this area, definitely still more silent. But then maybe here it's rather comparable, or maybe the E-Class even a little bit better. So yeah, I mean, that's also very, very close overall, but they are both mastering the silence game, definitely. I also set here the cruise control once again here for the adaptive system, also keeping me in the lane actively. Beautiful bright steering wheel, of course. Yeah, the only thing, told you in the interior, I would wish for animal-free materials for the S-Class, because they work very well meanwhile. There's no reason to use them here. So you have some more plush traveling feeling, I would say, or how would, yeah. So you feel more comfortable here or in the E-Class, Leah?
No, here.
Here, yeah, okay. So that was a quick response by Leah, that she feels even more like traveling relaxed here in the S-Class. Yeah, very interesting, because when we were driving the E-Class, we thought like, wow, I mean, how can you even top that? Is the S-Class able to top that? But yeah, in these slight differences to bring you a little bit more comfort, a little bit more silence, like in this area and so on, that indeed works. I'm looking forward to our S combination motorway switch very soon to check out how agile it actually still is. What we can say is that at lower speeds, when being in the city and so on, due to that rear axle steering, which is here at up to 10 degrees, at least when you get that option, and not only 3.5, it's not that much less agile. Of course, the parking is somewhat limited still when you think about, yeah, the length does limit the parking space that you have to consider for parking in the city, unless you are maybe like in the LA area and the parking lots are always large, then you maybe don't care or so on. Here we have to go to 80 kilometers an hour, but we can accelerate out one more time. Let's see, from the 6-cylinder, beautiful job. Really pushes you in the seat, really nicely done. And the engines feel similar, yeah, of course. This one here, 4.7 seconds. We have the very same engine here on the hood. 4.5 for the E-Class, although this one here is tuned to 450 horsepower and our E-Class was at 381 horsepower. Yeah, I mean, kind of feels like that this one here is tuned a little bit down in comparison when you think about that. It's kind of strange, right? I mean, on the one hand, it's tuned up as for the horsepower figure. Then again, it's slower, but just 0.2 seconds slower with just 145 kilograms of weight difference. That's very interesting, right? So I guess this could go faster, theoretically. But of course, this is not the main difference. They will feel more or less the same engine-wise. And of course, cool here with the standing star on top of the hood. You could also get that for the E-Class, but always makes like a very special feeling. However, for the aerodynamics, of course, the hood is a little bit more down in comparison to old S-Class. You've maybe seen the W126 review, where I could like see the star on top of the hood like fully, you know, because the hood is also straight. That's something to consider. Beautiful air suspension job here. No matter which mode are you in, it's always bringing you a nice floaty comfort. And if you want to drive a little bit sporty, just put to sport mode, then or do like this individual mode. Then you can, for example, also say, hey, I want just the suspension soft and more resistance from the steering wheel. The steering is pretty much the same feeling like in the E-Class. Maybe a little bit more direct in the E-Class, but couldn't really tell the difference so much. It's more the color is the difference here now. Now interesting here in the sport mode. Let's do this S combination. See how the car is pushing us in. Here quite high speed. Leah's already holding on tight. That's cool. I mean, wow. This is a super long vehicle. I mean, long wheelbase, and it still handles extremely well. Very good, precise steering input as well. But how did you feel? Not so good.
I feel that it's heavier.
Okay, so when I start to drive sportier, then Leah prefers the E-Class.
Yeah.
I mean, no wonder about that. Something also you can take into account for your passengers when you think, hey, I want to drive more agile. Consumption, MPG, fuel economy. It's possible with both vehicles to score something similar, around 8 liters on 100 kilometers, 29 mpg US, 35 mpg UK, more like long motorway hauls and so on. And that's absolutely fine since they're both like same engine, they're almost the same weight. There's not much difference between these cars as for the consumption. Pricing wise, this is very interesting and will soon come to my final conclusion as well. So we start relatively low in comparison with around 60,000 dollars with the E-Class, and then you're already at 110 with the S-Class, so it's a 50,000 euros or dollars base difference. If you then go for the 6-cylinder engines here, S500 and then the E450, then you're already at about like 80,000, still keeping like the same difference to 130,000 euros, so that 50k gap stays. And then, however, you can do two things. So first of all, as the S-Class then is with the S500, you could just keep it that way and you're absolutely fine. With the E-Class, you can add more stuff at first, and then you can easily spec it as it stands here right now to around 100,000 euros or dollars. So there actually the gap could shrink if you keep it on the same level. But then again, you can add so many more extras to the S-Class, like this manufacture interior, the special or some special paints, more interior options than real luxury experience. And then the difference is not smaller, but larger, and you move more towards the 200k area. So how you design your price difference between E-Class and S-Class can really start between 50,000, go lower to 30, but also higher to more like 80, 90,000 difference. So it's really flexible, so to speak. And the big question is, how much better is the S-Class and is the price difference justified? From the exterior, I would say both are very beautiful cars. That's just a matter of preference. Then here, depending on the country, you can pick short wheelbase or long wheelbase for the S-Class. In most countries, only the long wheelbase version is the relevant version. On the interior, we have seen here and there some things that are better with the S-Class. For example, like the covering from the inside of the doors, but which is already absolutely fine with the E-Class. Somehow, like how the instruments are placed and the connectors below that, also a little bit more beautiful in the here in the S-Class. So yes, the S-Class also from like the seating comfort, how plush it is. There's like one step above that, you know, on the one hand. On the other hand, a lot of markets like the US market or the German market also offer non-animal seating for the E-Class, which would be very important to me, for example. And it's already on a very high level. Also in driving, the E-Class is such a great ride, especially with the air suspension. It's so extremely silent on high speed runs as well on the motorway. Very important for Germany, for the German Autobahn, of course. So then it's really hard to top something above that. Yes, this one has more like a yacht, huge luxury boat style ride. Although it's not that much heavier on paper, it feels a little bit heavier, also with the longer wheelbase and so on. Is in a way a more luxurious ride, yes. Then again, yeah, we had the panoramic roof with this one. That's why, you know, maybe not one-to-one comparable. But I felt that, yes, it's more silent on the lower speeds, but on the very high speed runs, I wouldn't say that the S-Class was so much more silent than the E-Class. So yeah, they're both on a super high, good level in that respect. And yeah, also Leah told me before that on the one hand, like she felt more luxurious and more relaxed in the S-Class while driving. But as soon as I was attacking the road a little bit, then she said, I felt more at home as a passenger in the E-Class. So the E-Class with the shorter wheelbase, of course, gives you more driving fun. So then the question is basically, do you want more driving fun and the better price-performance ratio, the better package overall? Or do you want especially this luxury rear seating experience? Do you need more space in the rear because it's kind of limited in the E-Class? And do you want like this little bit higher sophistication, and are you actually willing to pay the extra price for that? And the overall thing, if I had to pick, yes, there were things that I really love with the S-Class. However, to me, that I can get here also the animal-free seating, and especially like this whole package thought, you know, that the E-Class already offers so much and is so good that it's really tough to top something about, you know, on top of that, to go even better than that. Is also in this segment definitely one or maybe the best vehicle overall. Then if you think about like how silent it is to drive and so on, and that overall package would still convince me, you know, that I have to say, to pay so much more extra for the S-Class, although there is something more that the S-Class adds, it doesn't really justify the price, you know what I mean? But only because the E-Class is already so good. And I say at this moment, probably the best Mercedes model to buy. What do you think? Tell me in the comments, and now join us for more comparison episodes.